So I first became aware of CART through the work of Morgan and Sonnquist because some consulting I was doing in Santa Barbara, the people there were aware of it, and so they informed me about it. And I never really liked what they had done too much, and that's because just from my upbringing, I was never a big fan of hypothesis testing. And they thought of it in terms of hypothesis testing. So the splits were done based on hypothesis testing, and the stopping splitting was done based on hypothesis testing. And maybe I would have liked hypothesis testing if I went to Berkeley, but having gone to Stanford instead, and they were big into Wald theory, and hypothesis testing just didn't play a role in my training. And so when it came to CART, and I've been involved in trying to get consistent procedures, and it was naturally led to maybe you would split, and the idea of splitting was to get opportunistically small nodes from which you could estimate the regression function if you're thinking of regression, or the class probabilities if you're thinking of probability estimation. But you might use hypothesis testing to motivate the splitting rule, but you really wouldn't take it seriously. And when you got back, and it was really like a lot like stepwise regression. So I had been my applied work before. I had been a user of stepwise regression, and where it was very slow at the time, so you actually had or if you rented time on some computer and you say, okay, let's try entering this variable, and it would clank on, it would go, and 5 minutes later you get back the results, and this is what happened, and you could enter this variable, that variable, maybe delete. And so I got a lot of experience with that, and particularly the idea of doing stepwise regression to add a lot of variables, and then stepwise deletion, and delete them, and you wouldn't necessarily reverse your steps, and then somehow you got a lot of models, and then trying to pick the one that worked the best. And somehow that always seemed a more natural way, and that led to my interest in the growing a large tree and then pruning it back. And some less luck would have it, not any cleverness, but it turned out that even though in stepwise regression, this just gave one heuristic in the context of trees, you could actually prove that you got an optimal pruning algorithm that way. And I thought that was neat, whether it worked better or not.